Welcome to the Slut Next Door podcast, where we dive deep into desire, unravel kinks and fetishes, and explore the deliciously naughty side of self-discovery. I'm Beatrix Vale, an erotic audio creator, and your guide to all things kinky and curious. So let's begin. Hi, loves, and welcome back to the Slut Next Door. Today's episode is a little different because it's not just for the fans who adore my work and love getting that peek behind the curtain, but it's also for anyone out there who's curious about creating adult content themselves. So maybe you've thought about starting, maybe you're already dabbling into it, or maybe you just want to know what it's really like on this side of the microphone. This is me being real and pulling back the veil, the great things, the not so glamorous things, and the lessons I've learned along the way. So settle in because we're going behind the scenes in a way I think both fans and future creators will appreciate. So when planning this episode, I thought about who I was 4 years ago when I was a baby creator, if you want to call it. And my goodness, I just think about how far I've come and how much I've learned. I'm truly a different woman in a way, in such a positive way though. I've grown so much, I have learned so much, and I did not anticipate that for sure when I first started doing this kind of work. And I'm going to be completely honest in this episode because it's very easy to sit here and tell you, oh my gosh, this is the best job ever. I feel like a queen every day. And yes, while these things are true, there's also a side to this work that isn't for everyone. So if you're listening and thinking about starting your own journey, here's the advice I wish someone had told me when I first began. So the first piece of advice I will give is that consistency is not only key, it's survival. Because true success doesn't come from just one post or one great file. It comes from showing up again and again and again and again, even when you're tired and even when it feels like no one's listening to anything that you're doing. Like you can't just start a clip store or start a subscription site and not have anything in it or just have one or two things in it and say, this isn't working. No one's subscribing. I'm never going to do this. I'm going to put it down. Well, you didn't really give it a good shot because, for me, if I put myself in a consumer's point of view, if I see someone's clip store, someone's subscription site, whatever it is, and there's just a handful of pieces of content in there, I'm less likely to give you my hard-earned money because I don't know if you're going to keep creating. I don't know, if I'm not going to pay money for just a little bit of stuff. Because the thing is that this market, the market of online sex work is very, very saturated. And I luckily understood that going in, and it was actually a fear of mine because I thought, how am I going to stand out? And especially as a audio only creator, like I don't have tits to show. I don't have, a big cock to shove up my pussy and get people's attention that way. So how am I going to keep someone's interest? How am I going to stand out? How am I going to have people believe in me, especially considering there's thousands of other women trying to do the same thing as me? And especially in the beginning when you don't have a lot of content behind you, it is even more crucial to be consistent. And there at the beginning, you're going to be doing a lot of work up front and not getting paid for it. But that's part of the process, because once you start going, once you continue showing up, that's when the beauty really starts coming together, hopefully. And definitely in the beginning, I would suggest pacing yourself to avoid complete and utter burnout. It's very easy to go in all excited and pumped up and, wanting to do everything in one day, and it's not going to happen that way. And there's a lot of learning curves and it gets really frustrating, but that's okay. Consistency, if you're really trying to be consistent, doesn't always mean constant output. And, from this is definitely from my journey, my history within it. I was doing phone sex in the very beginning, and, you know, I kind of knew right away, like, while I did love doing phone sex, I wanted to do audio work full time. I didn't want to do phone sex full time. So I have always given the advice that it's going to be difficult, especially if you're trying to do this full time. It's going to be difficult to really make the money that you might be wanting to see right away if you're not doing one on one services like phone sex or sexting or video chatting, because those are excellent ways to get some revenue coming in. And what I would do is I would just be taking phone calls. And when I wasn't doing calls, I was writing scripts. I was recording audios. I was doing all the things when I could and somehow avoiding that burnout. So you got to figure out what that looks like for you. My next piece of advice is so important. Diversify. Don't depend on one single platform, because they are truly rented land. Because tomorrow you could wake up and they could say, oh, guess what? We've got a new rule. You can't post anything with the word green in it. And that's just a really silly example. But I mean, it can happen that way. Or you could wake up and your platform is gone. They decided to ban you for a certain reason. A platform can vanish in an instant, and that's very scary. I mean, if you think about all the hours that you put in the beginning, and for all that to be stripped away and then you're left with nothing, is very, very scary. So diversify is one of the smartest pieces of advice I can give to any content creator. You want income streams to be coming from multiple places, and that's just to sustain you and your business. And sometimes it's smart. For example, loyalfans, I can't figure out, but it has a funky payment processing system for some of my fans. And I think I've narrowed it down to international, certain countries. And so, I panicked and I created another subscription site for people to join me that way. It really bums me out to think I'm missing out on income and a lifelong fan because they can't subscribe to this one site. So diversifying your platforms is just good all around. And not only diversifying your platforms, but diversifying how you get information out. So For example, I have my loyal fans and I communicate a lot in that. I promote things within it. It's my main hub. But then I also have a Discord server. So let's just say loyal fans disappeared overnight. I hope people would come find me in Discord and be able to get an update there. Or I have an email list so I can push information out that way, a Twitter. Right now, I'm working on building an Instagram and a TikTok, all these things that, yes, it's extra work. However, I find it crucial because it's just diversifying how I communicate to my fans and not relying on one single place. My next piece of advice has to do with boundaries. Creating a boundary for yourself because fans may start feeling very close to you. And that can be a beautiful and great thing. It's seriously what keeps this work addicting for me because who wouldn't want to log into something and feel all this love all the time, right? But you have to protect your own energy. And it's something I truly struggle with because I will feel literal guilt every time I'm not able to answer DMs, but I have to protect my mental health, my energy, because if I'm not in a great place mentally, like if I'm totally wiped and exhausted, I'm not going to go answer that DM from a fan. For one, because I want my response to be on point. I want to give them my best. Two, if I force it, I'm torturing myself by doing that, and that's not good. So give yourself boundaries because it's very easy to throw everything in and it becomes your baby. It becomes this baby that you nourish and you protect, and it's very, very easy to put. And you should put your heart into it, but make some boundaries for yourself. And also, I would suggest deciding right off the bat. And this may change and evolve, but decide what's off limits to you and stick with it because they probably most likely will be tested. You'll most likely have to tell a fan, sorry, I'm not comfortable with that, or sorry, that's, I don't offer that. Decide upfront what you want, decide that off the bat, and stick with it because it is your business. My next piece of advice is to invest in your craft. So, whether that be audio creation, if you're making video, whatever it is, invest time and your wallet into that craft. So, learn editing, buy or subscribe to the higher piece of editing software because you're going to be using it every day in and day out. It also will improve things like audio quality. If you're making videos, invest in that lighting. Invest in things that have to do with marketing when that makes sense. Like when if you're just starting out, don't throw a lot of money really at all. I'm going to say that when you're first starting, get what needs to be like the very basics. But once you really start going, once you really start getting a footing, just slowly throw more money, more time into things that will improve your content. Like, I'll give you an example. When I decided that, actually, I'm going to back up even earlier. When I first started doing phone sex, I was just using my phone. Like, I'm pushing my cell phone to my face or putting it on speaker and speaking, right? And that was fine for the time being. But once I started realizing I'm going to be doing this. I want to do this more. I'm going to create a business from it. I slowly started investing in things like the headset for the phone. Um, Eventually, and I'm telling you, I did this off my cell phone for a very long time, and eventually I invested in a phone line, like a landline, because I just didn't want to deal with service issues. It just seemed more professional, but it was months before I started doing that. With the audio work, I had purchased a pretty affordable microphone at first, but once it really started kicking off, once it really started showing me that this was a sustainable content creation journey for me, then I I invested in a better mic. And to be honest, I can listen back to some of my earlier files and I'll be honest, it makes me cringe. I can hear the mic quality is not as great, but it's okay. I mean, because I still built a fan base with that like crappier mic, right? Because I just did it. I was doing the content. And then guess what happened? It got better and those fans are still there. And then I gained more fans. And there's a lot of things that you can do in the beginning that don't cost any money. For example, I YouTube was my best friend because I had no clue. I had no clue what I was doing in terms of audio editing. But guess what? There are so many people, lovely people on YouTube that love to teach you things. And Google was my friend. And I would just spend time learning those skills. I would spend time learning how to use Night Flirt because it's not very user friendly. There's things that you can do up front that you are investing time, not money, time, especially in the beginning. There's a lot of things that you can do. So, investing in your chosen craft is super important, in my opinion. And then when you grow, when you start becoming successful and you're really bringing in some revenue you can be proud of, then you can continue to invest because I could easily be very selfish and say, I'm going to keep all this money to myself because I earned it and I'm not going to spend one more dime on my business. Yeah, I could easily do that. However, it's not very smart. And I didn't go to school for business. I definitely don't have the vocabulary. However, I'm sure there is some standard somewhere that says investing in a business is something that you have to continue doing. And so that's what I'm doing. And, I'll be completely clear and honest here. Right now, I have, and trust me, this was scary. It was very, very scary because I have control issues. Like I said, my business is my little baby and I'm very protective over it. But eventually, when you start becoming successful, you can start outsourcing some of the menial work, if you will, to an assistant, which has dramatically, it's incredible how that has improved my business. And, from the outside, I bet people can't even see. But for me, it has increased my revenue. It has helped my sanity. I feel more clear and concise when I sit down at my computer every day. I have someone, if you're very close to me in my business, you know that I have someone that creates like the visuals, like for every clip that I put out there, there's like a cover art, if you will, kind of like the cover of a CD or the cover of a record. I can I can go back and look at the ones that I created in the beginning and they look so silly. They're so, because that's just not my thing. I think I have a good eye, but I don't have that good design thing. So now I have someone that I outsource that creates these covers for me, and it gives me more time to focus on content. And I can think back to when my business was really, in the infant stages of kicking off. And I remember I would find someone on Etsy to create my logo. So little things you can do, and then eventually, once things really start getting rolling, you can invest in really valuable things like outsourcing things that have nothing to do with content. My next piece of advice is something that I learned from Melrose Michaels, who goes by Sexwork CEO. If you've not heard of her, stop my podcast and go look her up. I mean, that's how much I look up to her. She has a podcast. She has a little community for adult content creators, and something that, like an ideal that she pushes that really changed it. It switched something for me in my mind, and it was just a simple little mind shift switch. She pushed that you are a CEO. You have a business. You are at the head of that business. And to not only look at, I mean, yes, I make content. Yes, that is what I love doing. I'm not taking away from that. But along with that, I have learned how to market myself. I learned how to track my expenses. I learned how to do all these things that is CEO level, and then also levels of like the CFO and the controller and all those business words that I don't know. Um, but just that simple mind shift change really, I started noticing that I make decisions with that mindset, and they are the most badass decisions. And it's almost like a little confidence booster in a way. Um, but it is so true because, you think about the world of porn, if you will, and there's connotation to it that, oh, they're just, dumb whores who turn on a camera and shoot a video, or she's just an audio creator. She just turns on her mic and like talks with her lovely voice and boom, that's it. No, there was a lot more that was put into this, and it was CEO energy, and I didn't even know it at that time. So that is a crucial piece of info, and when you act that way too, when you act like you are a CEO, you show up every day, because trust me, it would be very easy for me to fuck off every day. It would be extremely easy to do that because there's no boss telling me what to do. And I would imagine that's where a lot of aspiring creators go wrong, is things get overwhelming and then they stop showing up and then the business dies. When you act like a CEO, you're showing up every day, you are managing fun little forms in the background, like databases, tracking your shit, and you feel like a badass bitch. You're doing all these things that are going to equal success. It's a mindset shift. And when I heard it, I soaked it in, and it means a lot to me. I'll just put it that way. So My next piece of advice is one that I'm speaking to myself. I'm still speaking to myself with this advice. Comparison is absolute poison because there is always going to be someone making more content than you, someone that's growing faster than you, someone that looks more glamorous, someone that is making more money than you. And it's a bummer. It really, like, it feels gross and it feels sad and it feels less than. And you can't go there. Focus on your own path. Focus on your audience who continue to keep showing up and supporting you. Focus on that CEO energy because the fans who do connect with you are your gold mine. And I don't just mean their wallets. I mean the fans that soak up even your free content or even just the content on your social media can make you feel like $1,000,000 and they didn't even spend a dime. They're adding to your algorithm, they're adding a follower to your account, they're adding to your perceived worth. And when I say that, I mean, like if you put out a piece of content and no one's watching it, that feels yucky. And even though you think that piece of content is the best thing that's ever been made, if no one's listening to it or seeing it, that is it content. But your fans, the ones that are truly your fans, the ones that will follow you year after year are your treasure. And I'm still learning how to reward those people because I truly hold so much value in them because they believe in me. And on days when I need a boost, I think about them. I think about how they continue to show up, they continue to like, they continue to comment, they continue to support. And my goodness, I can't even put it into words how important that is to me. And I'm sure it is to most genuine content creators. And then, for speaking business, you want repeat fans, repeat customers. That is where the bread and butter is. One person, we'll call it person A, can come buy 5 clips of yours, right? And that's really awesome. There's nothing wrong with that at all. We love that. But they buy 5 clips and maybe they weren't impressed. Maybe it wasn't their thing, whatever the reason, they never come back, okay? Now let's take person B. They come in January, they buy 1 piece of content. They think it's the most amazing thing in the world. They can't stop thinking about you, and they come back February and they buy another piece of content. And then they come back in March and they buy 3 pieces of content. And then they come back in April and they decide, I need a custom from this person. And then the next month they come back and they buy 10 more of your clips. And then the next day they come back and they subscribe to you for a year. And they keep coming back time and time again. And well, the person A did buy a considerable amount of content comparatively, they didn't come back. You made a small amount of money from them and you didn't gain a fan, you just gained something cheap. Where this person is going to come back time and time again and is going to support you when they can. They are going to tip you, they might buy you a gift, whatever it is. They just keep coming back. And then once you really get the momentum going, then you've got a whole group of these people be that just keep coming back and they keep supporting you because they want to devour every single thing that you make. And that right there, to me, is where the butter is, whatever that saying is. I think I just fucked it up. That is where it's at. You want those lifelong, repeat, hardcore fans. If there were people that say, oh, why don't you set your messaging rate on your loyal fans to free? How dare you talk to fans for free? Well, you know what? I talk to those fans for free because I want them to come back and I want them to be able to message without a constraint, without a money constraint. And I want them to give me adoration and love when they feel like it. And the ones that want to tip, tip. But I'm trying to build something sustainable. I'm trying to build those lifelong fans. And if I cut them out, if I put a barrier between me and them, sure, some might stick around because they just love my content, but there's going to be a small amount that kind of fade off because they need that connection. And that's just a piece of my brand that I put a lot of value in. And I'm not saying what I do is right or wrong. It's just part of my brand. I want it to feel genuine. I want my fans to feel connected to me. I want them to feel like they know me, as much as I'll give them, of course. I want them to know me beyond Beatrix Vale in the safest way possible, of course. So, I would suggest thinking about those long-term fans, especially in the beginning. How can I build lifelong fans? What can I do that would make someone come back time and time again? What little extra things can I do? One of mine is being available on my time, within my limit, and giving them that value, making them feel seen. That's my strategy. Now, the next piece of advice I will give is that self-care is mandatory. It's a must because this work can and will take a toll on you physically and mentally. For me, it might be my voice or mentally. If you do videos, some of these women, the size of the dildos they stuff inside themselves every day, I'm like, I don't know. I wonder what their self-care is like. I hope they take care of their vaginas in a very kind way. But the point is take care of yourself, because if you're like me, you will dive in willingly, hard and deep, and you'll love every second of it, and you'll work all day, and then you'll go sit on your couch and work some more and tell yourself that you're not working, but you really are. But you can balance that with a day off or an evening off the next day, whatever it is. Take care of yourself, because you are the product and the producer. You are the brand. I'll go back to this market is oversaturated, and if you don't stand out, if you don't push out something that is unique and high quality and genuine, I don't think you're going to make it. But you are a brand. And so if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not taking care of your brand as a business owner. Taking care of yourself is taking care of your business at the same time. Give yourself breaks. if you have a personality type like me that's very organized and very on task, I've always been that way. I'm a workhorse, I call it. I love to work. I live for the good jobs. I live for the success. I was an athlete growing up in high school, and I think I got it from there. I don't know, but I live for all that. And so showing up every day was never a challenge for me. What's a challenge for me is knowing when to step back and balance and being kind on myself when I do take a break. Because if I do, take a day off, which is pretty rare, or if I don't do work on the weekend, I'll start to feel guilty. I'll start to feel like a piece of shit. I'll start to feel like, oh my God, my business is going to fail because I took a weekend off. That, allow yourself those moments of self care. And now for the next segment, I'm going to push some advice that I personally wish I had heard sooner in my career, or things I wish I had learned or realized way earlier. So you don't need to wait until you're perfect to start. You can start super messy. And that first piece of content is not going to be your best. I mean, the statistics are very low on that, and that is okay. You've got to do it first, right? If you just sit back and think, oh no, like I want this to be perfect. Like I get that. I'm a perfectionist too, but you're not going to get to that perfect level until you start doing. I think back to the first file I pushed out and I was so nervous. Oh my God. I was so nervous to push it out into the world. And I remember I had a friend around that time and I was like, this is so terrifying. What if people hate it? Like I just remember I had no issue pushing it out, but I was just so scared. And what was I scared of? Like, what is the worst that's going to happen? Someone might press stop during it. I mean, that's the worst that could fucking happen. But it is scary. I mean, it really is. And I'll never forget, it's something I think about a lot. This particular friend listened to the file and they said, you were entering the Pink Floyd album era of your content creation. And I just laugh at that comment so much because, I'm going from role play, just regular erotic audio, to hypno. And I think they were trying to hit on that. And it was just, well more like trippier and more produced. And, so it just made me laugh. And guess what? People loved it. People loved it. It's not my best piece of work, but people picked up on it and they started tuning into more. And if I would have waited, would I be where I am today? No, because I would be a little further behind, or maybe I wouldn't have started at all if I would have let my perfectionist mindset, take the best of me. The next advice that I'm going to give that I wish I had known sooner is that the people who will connect with your content are out there. Like, people are into the weirdest things. And I say that, and this is coming from someone who loves weird shit. So I'm not judging. But there is something for everyone. And you're not creating for every single person. You're creating for your people. And they will find you. They will. They will find you and think you are the best whatever it is that you do, the best creator on the planet, and it feels amazing. But if you try to appease a mass of people, it's not going to happen. It's not. You may create a piece of content that a lot of people like at once, but not everyone is going to like it. And that's okay. You are working for those people. Again, I'm going to call them those lifelong fans that are going to support you no matter what, time and time again, showing up every single day almost. Those are the people you are creating for and you are fishing for. Create for them. And don't be afraid to be unique because, like, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. There are things about the way I speak that I don't like. But guess what? People think I have the best voice in the whole world. I just can't because I'm a dom. I can't reveal my weakness. I can't do it. I was going to do it and I just decided not to. There is one particular thing I hate about my voice. I've done it throughout this whole episode. I do it about every time I'm behind the mic. I hate it. But guess what? People must love it or they must not hear it because there's people that think I have the most perfect voice in the world. So if I let that little thing keep me from creating, or if I use that insecurity I have to not have it, maybe my voice wouldn't be the same. My point is that you are uniquely you and your brand, and there are people that are going to love it and eat it up. My next piece of advice is that you want to build community. You want relationship with fans. And I know that there are people out there, especially in the femdom world, that would say, no, I don't talk to people for fame, mama. I think it's bullshit. I really, really do. I think it's bullshit because I just don't think that's sustainable over time because there has to be a point where you do have a community and some sort of dynamic with your fans because I just strongly believe they want to be seen. And yes, I know there's kinks where, ignore kinks, treat me like a loser kink. I have guys that love some of the most degrading shit, but I believe that they know that even though they are a piece of dirt under my shoe, their submission is valuable. And I think that is important for me. And I could be completely full of shit, but I think it's important because I think people want to feel seen. I think people, even if they're into degrading kinks, want to feel important and seen. Take a degrading kink. They want to be seen as the most filthy, disgusting piece of dirt under your shoe. They want to be seen for that. And if you're not building that community and you're not giving that opportunity, I don't think that your business is going to maintain for a long time. I think it's possible to maintain a business that way, to keep your fans way over there. But I question if it's, sustainable. I think it's also important to build relationships with other creators because I've mentioned this in my previous episodes in this kind of behind the scenes thing. This can be a pretty isolating work. Like when I create these podcasts are really weird because if I sit back and think, what I'm doing in this moment. I'm talking to my wall. Like, I know that eventually people are going to be listening to this, but it feels like I'm talking to a wall and it's weird. And, you know, even when I was doing phone sex, I'm talking to men all day, but when I hang up that phone, there's this weird feeling of loneliness and it's hard to describe. It can feel really lonely. And so I think it's really important to gain relationships with other creators. They can be very uplifting. They can be an ear to hear your issues or to ask advice to. They're your people. You know, I'm lucky enough to have built some really meaningful, genuine relationship with creators, like ones that I consider a best friend. And I just think it's this weird, unique adult content creator connection. Like, and you would laugh at the things that we say to each other that for most people would be like, what in the world? But like for us, it's just like, another day in the office. Yeah, just building those relationships with creators is important. I felt scared to do that for a very long time. I didn't trust other creators. I felt like most creators were judgy. I felt like it's like it's my way or no way, like they knew all the answers and fuck anyone else. I just had like the wrong perception. But they're all just people like me. But with all that said, I started this kind of series of behind the scenes, like saying that this path of adult content creation is not easy. And the reason I did this is because I'm sure you can look at what I do and think, oh my God, it must be so easy. Like, it's not easy. However, it can be so deeply rewarding. I'm going to be honest. I have never been this financially free. And I've had pretty respectable jobs. I never made like a shit ton of money, but in America, we call it middle class, whatever you want to call it. I've never felt this financially comfortable. I've never felt this powerful in my life. I've never held the type of confidence I have right now. And this is all due to the work that I do. I've never felt so empowered as I do as a erotic audio creator. I mean, just the positive impacts, it's just changed my life. It really has. It has literally changed my life. And while there are days where I'm stressed and mentally wiped and I spend hours at this computer, these rewards make it all the while worth it. So if you are an aspiring creator, if you're brave enough to start, just hang in there, be consistent, stay, give it a try. Because if you don't know if you're going to make it or not. If you don't make it, it's okay. I mean, this is just one little solo job out of millions out there. And if you decide to go on this journey, take care of yourself, honor your own boundaries, and trust in your brand, yourself, because you are your brand. Trust in yourself and know that your voice or your content deserves to be heard. And remember, this is something I wish I would have known sooner or had in my head sooner. It's not just about creating content. You are building something huge, or you potentially could be building something huge. You could be building your life. And that's where I'm going to leave us today. Now, to my fans listening, because I know that you're still listening, you're the reason that I can do this work and sharing these behind the scene moments with you. It really means everything. And to any aspiring creators tuning in, I really do hope that hearing my journey and my advice helps you feel a little less alone and a little more prepared and a lot more inspired. This work is not easy, but it is powerful and deeply rewarding when you approach it in the right ways. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And thank you for letting me share the messy but magical sides of being an adult content creator. This is the last part of this little series. So I really hope you enjoyed it. And thank you again for listening. And that's a wrap for this episode of The Slut Next Door, where we dive deep into the raw, unapologetic truths of human desire. If you loved what you heard today, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a juicy moment. Want to connect with me outside the podcast? Click the link in my bio, where you can find lots of juicy content and options. Until next time, I'm Beatrix Vale, your Slut Next Door. And I'll see you in the next episode.